here in my apartment, and my roommate's going to do a Mitch McConnell impression. Let's check it out. Freedom is kicking the poor in America off health care and tax cuts for my rich donor friends. It's pretty good. Hey there, Paxton Swisher here with another College Democrats of North Texas weekly update. Starting off with a fun note, but then rolling on into serious notes. This is just going to be a short update, talk about how the news the past couple of weeks connects to our situation here in Denton with the Confederate soldier memorial that we have on our square outside of the courthouse. Then we're also, at the end, going to talk about just some updates with the club and the upcoming fall semester. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Stories coming out of Charlottesville and the national debate that's being sparked by that, and the death of Heather Heyer at the hands of a terrorist, a self-described Nazi white supremacist at the, Unite the Right rally that was being held there. I mean, obviously devastating and shocking news, and then it's ignited this discussion nationwide, further Confederate statues and the discussion therein, and certainly it was a surprise to many, myself included, to see how many people showed up to that rally. I don't think that represents a large portion of the United States, but certainly seeing that many people with so much hatred there is concerning. Those of you who have been in the club a while or came to meetings last semester, you know that the College Democrats are active in advocating for some sort of compromise regarding the Confederate soldier memorial that is actually on the Denton Square. And then there is a plaque giving it some historical context that was put up in 2010, or at least the updated version was. And it's all right, but it's quite far away from the statue itself, and is not actually facing towards the memorial. So almost no one that I've talked to actually knows that is connected to the statue. They say, "Well, I wish there was a plaque." Well, there is, and it's a whole problem because it's made more difficult by the fact that all of these kind of changes and decisions, including possibility of moving it, have to be run through the Texas Historical Commission. And we've been advocating for that every Tuesday morning at the County Commissioner's Court, and making a lot of efforts there. And if it was a bronze statue, there was one piece, it would be easier to move. However, it is a limestone statue, so it makes it hard to move without damaging it, which, obviously the Texas Historical Commission wants to avoid damaging any kind of piece of history in that regard. However, it puts us in an awkward situation where on the square, this place where college students, families, everyone hangs out, is just kind of marred by this statue that is, I assume, well, already troubling, like when I look at it, and disturbing, but I can only imagine, like, for people of color, just enjoying their Sunday or whatever, walking down the street, and then you get a reminder, oh yeah, right, I didn't used to be welcome in this country. Obviously, these statues were put up around the U.S. during the Jim Crow era, and though they have a lot of historical importance, I wanted to talk about kind of what I consider to be false arguments put up by proponents of these statues, and especially you heard a lot of it out of the people from Charlottesville there for the white nationalist rally, whatever they want to call themselves. A lot of times, and especially when debating the one in Denton Square, they talk about, oh, well, the people who want it to be moved into the inside of the museum and not on the square are trying to do revisionist history, or trying to, wipe away history. This talking point is easily proven wrong. It's actually the opposite is true. We're the ones saying put it in a museum inside where it has proper historical context and where you can see it within the context of all the other Civil War memorial stuff that is already in the museum inside the courthouse right now. Ironically, I think that it is more revisionist history to say that it is somehow an important part of white heritage and all this other kind of stuff that a lot of hate-filled people will say about these statues to excuse them. I'm not saying that we shouldn't remember the Confederacy. On the contrary, I'm saying this is a dark reminder of where hatred and bigotry can lead. And so we want it to have proper historical context. The other one is that they say, oh, well, it's representing the South in the Civil War, and it wasn't about slavery, it was about states' right. Well, what states' right? The right to own slaves. Just simple progression of logic there. And obviously there's more nuance to it, but that was the main right that they felt being infringed, right? So the other thing is a talk about free speech and protests and violence, and they kind of try to muddy the waters, especially with the death of Heather Heyer, and we see this even from, unfortunately, our president. But where they'll say, both sides are violent, or that people criticizing them is invading their free speech. No, you can be as hateful as you want, but that doesn't protect you from being criticized. That's what freedom of speech is all about. And as progressives, as Democrats, we are completely for non-violence in all circumstances. And that is part of that core value that makes you a progressive, that we want to solve issues through a battle of ideas. The protesting is the most American thing you can do. It's in the First Amendment, okay? Everyone who wants to support the statue, of course, has a right to assemble and express their opinion, but everyone else has a right to criticize them as well. Private businesses have a right to fire you if they find out you're a white nationalist or whatever. There is a right to a backlash. You don't get to say this kind of terrible stuff and then get a free pass and have everyone agree and like you. No, that's also our free speech to criticize you heavily. And if you want to have a battle of ideas and you want to actually debate about this, I'd be glad to. And I'm down at the County Commissioner's Court along with the people from College Democrats every Tuesday morning. Anyway, so these are the kind of talking points that you'll hear mostly in this argument. And always listen to the other side, always be respectful. And if you are on the side of putting these type of statues in their proper historical context, like I said, we're in the process of co-sponsoring efforts as a club to put up more memorials on the Denton Square that represent other cultures, specifically African American cultures. Like the first city employee, African American city employee hired he was an ex-slave. His name was Zach Rollins. So we're currently working on that. And that seems to be a compromise, as it's far easier to put up a new marker or a new statue or a new monument than it is to go through the Texas Historical Commission and get them to okay moving the limestone statue. However, if you also want to join us in writing letters to the Texas Historical Commission, expressing your opinion about this statue, please feel free. Denton is a place of love, not hate, not ignorance and shutting the other side out and not listening to anything. We want to have a dialogue. So if you're interested, or join the club, Democrats Club, or just join at the efforts every Tuesday morning talking to the county commissioners at the courthouse, along with local NAACP leader Willie Hudspeth, definitely do so. It's at Tuesdays at 9 o'clock at the courthouse on the square, the second floor. 9 o'clock sharp, but I will be there at like 8:30, 8:15 at Jupiter Coffee House right there on the square if you want to have some morning hangout discussion, stuff like that. Also, there is going to be a peaceful protest and vigil in light of the recent events in Charlottesville, obviously in support and in solidarity with Heather Heyer and her family. It's going to be on Sunday, August 20th, so this Sunday, on the Library Mall from 6 to 8. You don't have to stay for the whole thing, but black clothing is recommended, and that's being hosted by UNT student leaders. And look in the video description for info on that. And obviously, it'll be a quiet, respectful kind of thing. On to lighter news. The fall semester is fast approaching, and College Democrats is going to start having its usual weekly meetings on Tuesday nights at 7. The room is still to be determined, as we've not been given our room number by the higher ups, but we are really pumped because we've had over 150 plus signatures from incoming freshmen, as well as all the people from last year, and everyone interested in coming. It's going to be probably our biggest year yet, and we have some awesome events scheduled and in the works. Candidates from local elections all the way up to U.S. Congress elections coming to speak to us. We got debates, volunteer opportunities, all the volunteer opportunities we did last year, like No Tie Dinner, and we're gonna go to Donkey Fest here in Denton again, but all that and more. Gonna be exciting. Most likely, the first meeting is going to be around the second week of September. So, incoming freshmen, definitely come check our social media for when that's going to be. All people on the political spectrum are welcome. We like to have very civilized but open political discourse, as well as usually talking about current events and other things at our weekly meetings. And I'm pumped to see you guys. I've seen, I met dozens of people from the orientations that seemed really, really pumped up to come, and it is really after seeing some frankly depressing stuff in the news. It's a heartwarming thing because it makes me very hopeful for our generation and for our generations to come, that we progress. So to our weekly updates format, in that we're going to have usually a news story and then club news. So beyond the fact we're talking about current events, we're going to be discussing all the fun ways you can get involved and hang out with the college Dems. So definitely keep up with us here on YouTube. Also, our Twitter, twitter.com/UNT Democrats. And then on Facebook, we're College Democrats of UNT.